And good evening. This is the Elliott Wave update for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 for Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. First, if you did not see the comment that I left early this morning, on yesterday's post, in that both the S&P, not so much, but the NASDAQ did run up, reached a high that actually negated the count that I was showing. I'll get to that in a minute, but here in the S&P, the market did not actually negate the previous count, but it was pretty close. It was pretty close. And so I went ahead and flipped over to an alternate labeling, which still shows that the trend, was basically changed. We're back into the downtrend. The primary B wave remains in place where it is, and that we finished the first minor wave down. Instead of having being so extended as what was being shown, because the market stopped in its tracks in terms of putting in those stronger down days, reversed course, albeit for a separate reason, which happened to be called NVIDIA, and just a quick pop in the market, it still was enough to change the count. So I've rearranged, I relabeled, and so what we've got going on is at yesterday's low, Friday's low at 43.50, that then completed minute 5 and then minor wave 1. So what we're involved in right now is a minor wave 2 rally, an upside move. And the initial fibs, which would be that wave 2, most common, retraces back 50 to 62%. So I basically have left, actually, let me just kind of clean this up just a tad. Retracements. So I don't need that one, and I don't need that one, and that one, or that one, or that one. So let's just clean it up so we're just leaving what we need to see and work with and get rid of all the rest. So in essence, the first would be a minimal of 38%, and that comes in at 44.58 or 44.60. So in that area. But most common would be 50 to 62%, which is 44.92 to 45.25 or 45.26. So once complete, then we'd be looking for a third wave, a minor third wave, to begin and start to carry this market lower. And again, third wave, as we know, under what Elliott told us, third waves are most normally the longest and the strongest. And that is where we'd expect to see some strong stretches of harder downside selling. And if it was reversed and we were going up, we'd be looking for those long stretches of just nonstop buying. But we're going to be looking for the other side. Not even going to try to determine what could cause that tip of the scales back to the other way, because the basic reasons still are out there, as I talked about yesterday during the update. But right now, looking at what we've done so far, we have pretty much completed what I'm going to call an ABC to the upside. And because I'm still looking for additional, it's going to be wave A of, so it's minute wave A of minor wave 2. And then we get a B wave. So let's run some quick fibs just to kind of get an idea of where all this can come back down to. Now, once again, I did that wrong. Did it in the wrong direction. So we want to get these correct. There to there. And I want to get in, because I tell you, I keep trying to get in there and make these changes so that they actually work. And we're going to leave that like that and say, okay, so what we look for in a B wave. Now, again, a B wave can come all the way down. A B wave can create a new low and still go back up. But in this particular position, I'm not necessarily looking for that. But I guess I should leave those in just in case. 236, 2382. So what we have, if it were to go irregular, which I can't say it would not, I'll get into that in just a minute. But right now, what we're looking for B wave is pretty much the same as a wave 2, 50 to 62%, possibly even back to 100%. So if we get a strong enough decline tomorrow, advance of NVIDIA's earnings, well, then we might get it coming all the way down, retesting in that 4350 area or thereabouts. Now, if it decides to go irregular, again, it still is going to be an ABC. So even though A is an ABC, suggesting that it's going to be a flat, so the entire would be pretty much a flat. So we may not ever get much past this, but B wave should come down and maybe 50, 60%. We've already reached the 50% level, and that was at 43.95. And that was pretty much within the last hour of trade. And so what is up next is 43.84. So these are not the exact levels, but you go plus or minus on them. And then I'd be looking for a C wave up. Now, if it just comes in, not necessarily being a flat, but we get a straight ABC down, and we get down only to this level, maybe even back down towards 43.70, and then start to head up, well, then I'm looking for that C wave to break there and likely get up into these levels. Otherwise, this is going to be a weaker C wave. Now, should it turn into an irregular? Or just saying, if the count actually is reverted back over, and this 4, if this turns into the 4, and it would be a minute 4, then, excuse me, it would be a minuet 4 within a minute 5. Then it's still going to be kind of strange because it's a little bit too big. But stranger things. That's all I can say, stranger things. The market, the way that things actually end up being formed, continues to sometimes go like, what? But in this case, I'm working the count. I'm going to see what we get out of all of this. Wave 3 ended in that diagonal. So the small wave 5 diagonal, it just was a bizarre little turn, and we're just going to have to sit with it and see how this all pans out. So not breaking any rules all the way down. If the market were to turn from here, in other words, if this ABC were to be all of minor wave 2, then what I would be expecting is no fooling around here, that it just starts to go down and it doesn't stop, and it blows through these levels. Irregular would suggest we come back down, we surpass 43.50, and we start heading down to 43.28.29, down to 43.15. So that's 1.236, 1.382. Those are the two Fibonacci levels that we use for an irregular B wave. So, and in that case, if that's what happens, that we get down there, we actually put a new low in for this particular sequence, but the market then turns and rallies right back up, then the next measurement that we're going to look for is that wave C will be 1.618 of wave A. So again, we'd have to wait and see how deep it would become, but that also could get it up there. Now, again, the big story tomorrow is going to be NVIDIA's earnings after the market closes. And I'm pretty sure that's, let's just see how soon after. Pretty much right at the bell. So their conference call is going to supposedly start right at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Central Time. So that actually is going to be 2 o'clock West Coast and 5 o'clock East. So 5 o'clock on the East. So it might take a little while before we hear the earnings report from NVIDIA. So that's kind of it for the S&P today. It pretty much was clean. This was the overnight. They reached that high before most of us were even awake. So again, primarily the European markets. And we just pushed, and a lot of that was through NVIDIA. So again, what we can double check is where all of this sits, right? So we had this could have been a very positive candle. The candle ended up closing negative. So that throws, at least on the daily picture, a little bit of a gray cloud over what all of this is. So it is really going to be interesting because remember, this is a market that's a fluid. It's in movement. It's underway. It's doing a lot of things, a lot of activity being shoved into it. And so there is that possibility that we come down into 5, and in which case, what did we have? I think 42.75. Well, we got the daily 200 at 42.80. And then if I take this back down and I just check on that hourly chart, what do we got down below? We don't have any moving averages, but I think that I had some down. I had support down around 42.93, 42.80, and then all the way down to 42.20, I believe it was. So if I had to come back over and put in where fibs could fall in, I will do that if the market is determined that it is back to a different decline. So because I would have to be putting in, we had the 3rd, and this would be the 4th, and we'd be looking for a 5th. And in that case, I'd have to I would go down. We're calling that 1, 2. I could put fibs in there, and that would give me more downside levels. But once again, what it would be telling us, because if we remember correctly, this was 1, this was 2. We were looking for the completion of the wave 3. So if this all falls apart tomorrow during our regular session or overnight, and some of you may left comments, you wouldn't be surprised if it just dropped like 100 points. So it remains interesting, but at least I'm hearing that we're all kind of in the same boat. It's like, hey, these are all the possibilities. And as far as like some people, they're really kind of questioning whether the predictive qualities of Elliott wave just kind of shows you areas of what a market can do based on the wave pattern that is being labeled. And it is not an exact science, nor is it an exact art, because our markets are fluid, because they are really controlled quantitatively now. And algorithms is what runs all day long and produces what we get. And it's all based on input through a computer. And right now, again, I just want to show you the volatility in NVIDIA. 154. Earlier today, it was 180. So the volatility kind of came out of NVIDIA today. And strangely enough, they sold volatility today. Based on what? Couldn't tell you. So that kind of lets me know that they were pushing back into that side of the volatility trade, which is to sell index volatility and buy volatility in the components. So when you see all of this switching around almost on a daily basis, it becomes more difficult to try to interpret, of course, but still using solid Elliott does give me what we're measuring, of course, are human emotional reactions. That's the beauty of Elliott. And since we all really, and hands down, some people that call themselves technical traders, but when it really comes down to it and they're stuck in a trade, it's your emotions going to either wipe you out or get you out. So, reactions are emotional. And so that's what we're measuring. And that's what produces what we have. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the S&P. If needed, I will put back fibs, but right now I'm leaving it as here. we were looking for completion of a minor first wave, but because of its extensions, I was really kind of putting it way down and was not in love with that, but that seemed to be what the market was telling us. Now that's kind of reversed a little bit, and we'll see what happens after tomorrow, after the earnings. Over in the NASDAQ, there's the culprit. There's the one that actually did get all the way up to 15,118. And so that just really broke the back of this because we were way above which would have been labeled wave one, coming off. And this would have been wave one down here. And even though it didn't necessarily break above that level, it came pretty dang close. And as far as like being a minute fourth wave, it broke it. I mean, you have fourth wave. It broke what anywhere which would have been labeled wave one. It just broke it apart, and that could have been right here. And so that's substantial. That would be 25, 35, 43 points that it shot through it. And that was pretty much, even though it dropped back down and, closed well below that level, the pattern itself is, I can say ABC or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get a 5, and I can put a wave A here, and we're looking for that B wave. And here are the measurements for the B wave. In fact, I can put an A wave right up there. I'm going to put it up here so we can see it. And I'm just going to stick A right there. I don't need to go into the inside. And I'll just go like this, put that up there, get that done. And what we're looking at is a B wave. Most common, 50 to 62%. The fact that this was I'm counting it as a 5-wave structure for wave A. It's going to be a zigzag. And so the entire structure, before I get into that B wave, the entire structure, right? We have 50 to 62%. Those are right here and here. That's 15,336 to 15,507. That's how high the whole structure can get. But right now, we finished A, we're looking for B. And B also 50 to 62% brings us back down 14,863.64 and 14,803. Both were levels on this side of the equation, were targets for this market when it was coming off. And then they were targets for this market as it was going back up. So these same fibs continue to come and play out. So this is not an unusual area for the NASDAQ to trade in. And so algorithms and traders should be pretty comfortable right in all of here. Now, again, we're looking for, let me see if I can open this up just a little bit. See, again, is this an ABC? And that's going to be all done. We're kind of sitting right on top of the hourly 50. Which is right now at 14,935. We didn't really drift below. 33 was the low today. It got down tested at 1, 2, 3 times, held each one, and they kind of launched back off of it. So again, it's going to be questionable. But so there is that support, 14,923. That's 382. That would be pretty light for me. That would be pretty light B wave for me. So even if this is going to be an ABC, because that's what it's looking like, got an A, this is trying to be a B wave in here, maybe get that B wave back up to here, and then we turn back around, and a C wave drop into these areas, put a wave B down there, and then we launch in a C wave higher. And again, I have to be honest with you, think about it in terms of what NVIDIA is expected, right? Everybody's like hinging on that they're going to blow the doors off again, or they're going to be good earnings. Now, mind you, when they first come out, it's algorithms that take over and push on that one. Whether the market actually comes back in and goes, nah, who cares, and just sinks it, it still could go bing before it went bing. Just saying. So here again, I got 1, 2, I got to go out to the 4-hour. Please excuse me while I do that, because we've got so much trading. I need to go out here to show you the whole picture. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here as well, that was just the 5 of 3. There was the 4 of 3, and here was the 5 of, the 5 of 3 of 3. And then 4, and then 5 of 3. So, and then we get the minute 4, and then here 5 waves down, minute 5, minor 1. So a couple of ways I actually can count this. I'm literally looking at it like it's going to be a 5 wave, so it could be a zigzag. But if I had to, it's going to be A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, A. In which case this could actually come all the way back down. And in a regular, probably just not going to get it too much further. Like 14,005, 14, 15, somewhere in there. If it's going to be in a regular B and then shoot up. So that's kind of the pattern. Here's the other side of this coin. If it doesn't shoot up, then what are we looking at? We're looking at, again, even though yesterday the market showed such extreme strength, that it actually has a lot of underlying weakness. And so if this started to fall apart from this high, it's going to be extreme underlying weakness because it didn't even make an absolute minimum retracement, even though that was a strong rally that did carry overnight. I'm pretty much right when the European markets opened. Bingo. Sell, 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 sell. So again, if this were to mark either the S&P and the NASDAQ or both, then it's extreme weakness, and that we would be dropping into a minor 3rd wave down, and would just ding, 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 and whatever we're marking for the possibility of a regular would not hold. It would go solid straight through. And can it do it? Sure can. This is why I kind of say everything remains on the table anymore. So it's to say, oh no, that can't happen. No, won't do it. I have now been witnessing so many things where I'm like, why would this is such a strange move? I.e. yesterday. How many of us were really sitting there going like, oh, really? They're going to run NVIDIA up $40. I know the earnings are coming, but on Friday, they slam dunked it. And for all I know, it was for nothing more than that there were enough trades or traders that they were going to exercise or get exercised, and they would be getting long NVIDIA. So they forced it so that they could pick up and get long, and then they took off with it, just took it and ran north. So I don't need to really figure out the underlying reasons, and to be honest with you, I really don't care. But stranger things have happened. So we never really know what we're going to get as we walk into the next day. So I'm just going to kind of leave it there. Let's take a quick review of the NASDAQ's daily chart. Here again, we got up overnight and broke this daily 50 moving average, 50 period moving average, and now closed well below it and closed below the 8. So we've gone from presenting a positive picture on the daily, which would contain continued upside, to back to not so positive, closing back below the 8, sitting just above the 4. It becomes just a little bit more interesting that really what we have now gone through is a little bit larger correction within this ongoing. So I'm still okay with labeling it as minor wave 1. And what would come next is minor wave 3. But we may not be done with minor wave 2. So we got all of this to work ourselves out just yet. And that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it for today. One last thing, let me do a double run and take a look and see what, if anything, we got coming out. On Wednesday, we have S&P Flash USP services on the PMI and manufacturing PMI. Both of those are at 9:45 a.m. Eastern. And then at 10 a.m. Eastern, we have new home sales. So the S&P flash services, both manufacturing and U.S. services and U.S. manufacturing PMIs, purchasing managers index, those can be market movers, and they could drive us south. Okay, because those are more, they start to give us a little bit more clue on inflation, what the Fed may or may not do, et cetera, et cetera. So again, but remember, those are going to be interpreted by algorithms. So that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Next update will be on Wednesday, August the 23rd.